believe a sweet, sweet girl like you would I tell ya. No sweetness, die she weakness, yeah, yeah. No feelings, just walk it up like you mean it. No sweetness, die she weakness, yeah, yeah. No feelings, just walk it up like you mean it. Girl, wine and go down, waistline flow like a melody. Go down, pretty, pretty girl, you are the recipe. Go down, fire in the kitchen, my girl, how you cook that, cook them, let me see. Nice man can't keep your interest. Come with flowers and they get dismissed. You have to handle the business proper. Oh Lord, tell you what she like, tell you what she like, tell you what she like. She wants some action in she life. Come good or just don't come at all. Tell you what she like, tell you what she like, tell you what she like. She want the roughness in she life. And when I put down the work.
Yeah man, this is Grams Morgan. I want you to keep watching CVM TV, be inspired, be informed, right? See it happen right here on CVM TV. Morgan Heritage till the year 3000 and beyond. Grams Morgan say that. See it? Blessings.
Good evening. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and while many Jamaicans are thinking about flowers, dinner and small gestures of affection, the government has just delivered a very different kind of message. A $1.4 trillion national budget and the first new taxes in a decade. Yesterday, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Favour Williams, tabled a package of new revenue measures projected to generate $439 billion in the upcoming fiscal year. The justification? Financing a $1 trillion reconstruction effort following Hurricane Melissa. Among the tax measures, a new tax on sweetened beverages, an increase in cigarette taxes, a tax on digital services, and a higher environmental protection levy. The government calls this disciplined fiscal management. The opposition calls it a tax grab. Tonight we break down the numbers, the health argument, and the politics. We ask what this means for your household, your health, and your wallet on the eve of Valentine's Day. This is Lead Story. Looking at now the largest single new revenue measure in this special budget, a special consumption tax of 2 cents per milliliter on all non-alcoholic sweetened beverages. The ministry paper confirms this tax will generate approximately $10.1 billion in the upcoming fiscal year. It applies at the point of manufacture and at importation. Retail impact examples provided by the ministry include a 300 milliliter drink having an additional $6 added on, a 600 milliliter drink, an additional $12, and a 2-liter bottle, $40. Well, joining me now to talk about what that means is Catherine Silvera, President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association. Thanks for joining us inside Lead Story.
Thank you for having me, Jody.
This is a big deal. Minister Favour Williams has announced that $10.1 billion revenue target for the sweetened beverage tax. For your association, the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association perspective, is the manufacturing sector being used as an ATM for hurricane recovery?
Well, some of our members will certainly want to feel that way. I think that number one in their minds is there was no consultation prior to this new tax being announced. So there are a lot of questions being asked, and we still don't know full impact of what this new SCT or 2 cents per milliliter is. Is it going to be applied to flavored milks, for example, flavored waters? Is it going to be applied to the lower sugar drinks that our manufacturers already, quite a number of years ago, had to introduce to be able to continue selling into the schools? So I don't know if you remember that maybe 10 years ago, our manufacturers had to create lower sugar drinks at a higher cost than the regular sugar drinks to be able to continue to sell into schools.
So you're looking then at a situation where your members might feel aggrieved. Domestic production of carbonated beverages grew from approximately 17.3 million cases in 2020 to about 20.1 million cases in 2024. Is this sector being targeted essentially because you are successful and strong and visible? Are you being targeted because of your success?
Well, certainly it means that they find that it is obviously a sector that is selling very well and highly consumable. So that means that a tax on that beverage is going to be more consumed than, let's say, a sugar tax on another type of product, maybe a food item. You know, beverage is much more consumable than food. So it is certainly something that our members are still assessing. We are in dialogue with our membership. We have not been able to get full numbers from them as yet, as it was only announced about a little over 24 hours ago. So we are going to be in consultation with them to be able to come out with a position that favors our members of beverages. But as I said, they really want to know right now, can we now start the consultation with the government about what this new tax means?
Well, you're starting the consultation after the tax has been put in place, and some have already hailed it as an incredible measure. So you're seeing sugary drinks there expected to bring in $10.1 billion, but cigarettes, $1.1 billion, alcohol, $1.6, digital services, $4.2, environmental levy is expected to be $3.6 billion. By far, your members are the giant and the lion's share of what it is that the government is looking to get. But the Health Ministry has said, on the other hand, non-communicable diseases, including obesity, hypertension, diabetes, cost Jamaica $17 billion in lost productivity. So is this tax of $10.1 billion, is it reasonable for some to say it could be a drop in the bucket considering the damage that sugar is doing to our workforce?
Well, I don't think it's only sugar that is doing that damage. When you look at non-communicable diseases, there are other factors, salt. It really is what you consume, and it's not just sugar that allows. It's fats, it's oils, it's salt. There's a number of elements that you're consuming on a daily basis that can cause you to develop non-communicable diseases. So certainly, and what we've seen as well in other countries that have put on a sugar tax is that it doesn't necessarily drive away the consumption. So for us as well, what we want to understand is these additional revenue measures, are they now going to be used to help educate consumers even more? Because yes, this is a consumer tax. Consumers are going to decide, are they willing to pay the additional amount, or are they going to switch? But switching to what? Because are healthier alternatives more affordable or even more expensive?
You are also the head of an association of members that produce those drinks. You can choose and opt to make them more affordable in the same way that the decision had been made by members a decade ago when Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, made it very clear that keeping our children safe was a government priority, and so lower sugar drinks were to be introduced in schools. They could make that decision, saying that they could make these healthier alternatives cheaper, especially after Hurricane Melissa, where easier and more easily consumed calories are things that people might want because more healthy food might be less available.
Right, but choosing to make a healthier product doesn't mean that you can make it less expensive, because the inputs is what helps to determine whether or not the product is going to be less expensive. So a healthier option might not be less expensive. And what is a healthier option to soda? Really, it's only water, because no sugar soda is not going to be a soda. It's not going to be palatable. It's not going to.
So that's water then, effectively, you're
Correct.
saying that people would be having. If they're not having water then, and they are drinking the drinks that your manufacturers produce, and the government is saying the lion's share of the revenue, $10.1 billion, is meant to come just from this sector alone. Are they effectively saying that they don't expect demand to significantly decline because the government coffers depend on you being able to sell and sell well to allow them to get that 10.1 billion?
Well, that is what they're saying, but we wait and see, because this is in addition to, let's say, the SCT being increased on alcohol. So as a consumer, you're now, if you drink, let's say, a white rum and ting, you're now being taxed on both of those at a new level come whenever these revenue measures are introduced in the first quarter. So if right now that costs you $350 at the bar, are you going to still drink your 3 beverages, or are you now only going to drink 1 because of the new price that both of these items are now going to go to? And, you know, William Mafood came out earlier today and he said that...
That's head of Wisynco.
That's head of Wisynco. And his comment was, the government said that they were looking towards the disenfranchised and trying not to introduce a tax that is going to cause them to pay out more. But the reality is that the majority of Jamaicans that are consuming these beverages are lower income persons.
And that is something that has been a critique of what these have been called sin taxes. So pushing people to consume less alcohol, consume less sugary drinks, and to consume less tobacco products. That these are things that we can have the health benefits, but we're also then targeting people who have less money. Let's talk about those consumers for a bit, because can the average consumer, with the tax of 0.2 cents per milliliter, which adds around $12 to a rough, like a standard 600 milliliter bottle, can they afford that? Post-Hurricane Melissa inflation, can they actually absorb this that is now coming to them?
Well, that's a good question. I'm really not sure. And it also depends how the manufacturer costs their goods, because that SCT, I'm not sure if they add it on at the end or if they add it on at the beginning before they add on the other inputs such as electricity, factory burden, labor costs, things like that. So it could be compounded, and it actually could come out to be more than 12.
So it could become more than $12. So persons also have to look at that as well, and that might be part of the negotiations and discussions that you have with the government. Will you also be looking at what happens to imported goods? Because though we have on the table neutrality there, that local and imported drinks will have that same tax added on them, does it protect local manufacturers, or can giant competitors overseas of large companies undercut your prices and effectively take over the market because of this new levy?
Certainly. It's good to see that the tax is applicable to all, whether imported or domestically made. But yes, larger or manufacturers in other countries that are exporting into Jamaica, they have larger economies of scale. So certainly they can look to see how they can cut costs to have a cheaper product when, let's say, importers of those products go to them with this new tax that is being implemented by Jamaica. So they may look and see, can they cut some costs to be able to export it at a lower cost to Jamaica? There's certainly that's included. But you put imports on the table. I also want to speak about the fact that government has introduced revenue measures. What are they going to be introducing to curb expenditure? Illicit trade is still something that is...
Illicit trade is often, though, something we think about when we talk about tobacco products like cigarettes. Are you saying that people are going to be making bandulu sugary drinks in order to get around this tax?
I'm saying that all things are possible, but I'm also saying that in addition to illicit trade on cigarettes and alcohol, there is still leakage happening at the ports. And not just leakage at the ports, leakage in terms of all professionals don't necessarily pay income tax. There are a number of measures that I think government needs to look at in addition to revenue measures. But how do we fix the leaky basket that we have right now of tax as well?
And just a quick one for you. There's been a big debate about front of package labeling, warning people that things are high in sugar. Even without this tax, is your association, the JMEA, willing to also put on the table with the government saying, let's negotiate about this, let's put then that labeling on instead of having this measure to curb people from drinking these drinks?
Thank you for that question. It is something that we've been waging discussions with government and Ministry of Health and other agencies, and at a CARICOM level as well. And the JMEA and our members have never been against front of package labeling. What we've been against is we need to do it in a way that it measures the same with our major trading partners. Because if we have imports coming in from the US that has no front of package labeling, how can you implement that on manufactured goods? Also, we want to ensure that if there is a front of package labeling, that there is making a difference. So if the threshold is 10 grams of sugar and my product has 10, but your product has 50, we have the same front of package label. That's not fair.
Well, you know what? That's certainly going to be something then we expect to hear from the JMEA as they go before the government on this. Catherine Silvera, President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, thank you for joining us in studio.
Thank you very much for having me.
Inside Lead Story. We'll take a break and come to you next because it's not just sugary drinks that are getting a tax. Cigarettes are also on the list. We'll talk about that next.
Exclusive, affordable, top tier. For premium liquor, exclusive wines and beverages, Top Tier Liquor Store has the best brands at the lowest prices. Cash or consignment, wholesale or retail. We'll even provide a top tier event venue right in the heart of Crossroads. Visit us today at 1A Caledonia Avenue, Kingston, or give us a call at 876-505-1697. Top Tier Liquor Store. Sip superior. Shop top.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
The special consumption tax on cigarettes, well, that's also rising by $3 per stick, moving from $17 to $20. That's the projected revenue impact that the government wants that would lead them to $1.1 billion. The Ministry of Finance describes cigarette taxation as an internationally recognized tool to moderate harmful consumption. But is it going to make a difference here? Joining us via Zoom is Deborah Chen, Executive Director of the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and a board member of the Jamaica Coalition for Tobacco Control. Deborah, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here because this is a big story. Hearing taxes on sugary drinks, hearing taxes on cigarettes. Let's first talk about cigarettes. Is a $3 increase per stick sufficient to change the kind of behavior that the Tobacco Control Coalition as well as the Heart Association of Jamaica, the Heart Foundation, wants to see?
Yes, we think any increase is good. There has not been an increase in the tax for a number of years. And whereas people are addicted to the nicotine in cigarettes, what it do is to deter people from starting, especially the youth. So the higher the price, then the less likely they are to start. So definitely any increase is most welcome, and this has been well overdue.
Well overdue, but also some are looking at this and saying if the tax is projected to generate not $10, not $50, but a whopping $1.1 billion to go in government coffers to stem some of the shortfall we've seen from Hurricane Melissa, does that suggest consumption will remain relatively stable to bring them that kind of money?
Well, unfortunately, cigarettes are addictive because of the level of nicotine that is put in them on purpose to make sure that people are addicted. So yes, the current smoking rates will take quite a while to go down. What we don't want to happen is that they increase. We don't, and this is where the price is very, very important to try and prevent other persons from starting use. But unfortunately, due to addiction, it's likely to continue, even though there are efforts at cessation programs.
Well, that's going to be really important as persons look at this as well, seeing the benefits, because your associations, of which you are part of not one but two, have come out saying, good job, government. This is useful. But critics call these sin taxes, taxes on vices like alcohol, sugary drinks, and now cigarettes, regressive. How do you respond to claims that these unfairly burden the poor, something that we just heard President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Catherine Silvera, echo?
Yes, we don't agree at all. It is also true then that the diabetes and hypertension also unfavorably impact those of the low socioeconomic group. And while, referring to this sugary sweetened beverage in particular, while it may take a little while for the sales to drop, they will drop, as shown by studies that have been done in other jurisdictions. But the burden on the poor is very high, the healthcare burden, and they're disproportionately affected. So we have to look at it from that point of view. Also to say that sugary sweetened beverages are the largest contributor to sugar intake in Jamaica, of no nutritional value whatsoever. So nothing is gained by it except to cause various diseases, including diabetes and fatty liver disease. So yes, we are very, very supportive of these measures that the government have put in place, because whereas individual responsibility is important, it is the policies that will get us much further ahead and where we need to go. We need to create an environment where it's conducive to live a healthy lifestyle, where we have front of pack labels so that people can make informed choices as to what they're buying. They look at products, and those that have more sugar, for example, will cost more, so they'll be more inclined to buy the cheaper one. These are the type of policies that will help.
Those are the kind of policies that will help if they are evenly applied. The JMEA, through their president, Catherine Silvera, a moment ago, when asked about front of packaging labels, raised a concern, saying that, well, if you're asking local manufacturers to do it, but not overseas manufacturers who are then importing into Jamaica, it's an unfair and an unreasonable burden on local manufacturers with something that might not be able to be pushed on those who are importing into the country. Or you might have different ways of putting this packaging number on that dissuades people from consuming local products. Is that a concern of yours as well? Because there seems to be a need to balance.
Yeah, my understanding of the front of pack labels is that those that's imported would have to have a label on it, whether by a sticker or other means. You're going to sell certain products and export them from, say, Jamaica to another jurisdiction that has labels by law, you have to do the same thing. So that my understanding is that it wouldn't be a matter that products that require a label to sell, let us say, high in sugar, to come into Jamaica would not have that label. That is not my understanding. They would have to have a label applied, possibly something in the form of a sticker, or there is some other
something that has them consistent now across the board.
Yes,
everybody
right.
having that same sort of information.
That would be done. I agree that it wouldn't be. Well, from a health perspective, we would want these labels applied across anything that requires it, not just local products. If something is high in salt, we would like the consumers to know it's high in salt, whether it was manufactured locally or from overseas. So we agree, but there is a system in place for it.
Deborah, next thing for you, because these taxes that are being put in place, we have some data that says about 81% of Jamaicans support these taxes if the revenue goes to health. That sounds amazing. But do you now have a guarantee that the $11.2 billion from sugar and tobacco, that's 10.1 from sugar, 1.1 from tobacco, will actually reach hospitals and Jamaica's healthcare system?
Yes, I know most of these type of taxes go into the consolidated fund, and sometimes I know it's an administrative reason why this happens. But at least then some of the fund does go to support the Ministry of Health, and they have a great burden with the ever-increasing persons accessing the public health system from these diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, and people that are propensity for these diseases. So even if it ends up going to the consolidated fund, at least it will mean that there's more money there to be allocated to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. It would be ideal, certainly, if some could be put aside to support, let us say, the school nutrition, the school feeding program, the school nutrition policy. But at least if there's extra income generated in the consolidated fund, it can be put towards the Ministry of Health's budget.
All right. Another thing, it's something that we've been watching for some time, stuck in a joint select committee of Parliament, the Tobacco Control Act.
Yes.
Is this tax a substitute for this piece of legislation that's been languishing?
Not at all. In fact, Jamaica is a signatory to the World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, and one of the articles does speak to taxation of tobacco products as a method of reducing.
That's a 3x35 initiative, which calls for increasing the price of tobacco, alcohol, and sugary drinks by 2035.
Right. Well, even before, because remember that our legislation, the tax is in the legislation, but it doesn't have to wait on it. We already have a system for that. The legislation, yes, it has been taking quite a while. I can imagine that with recent events, it's delayed further. But yeah, the Jamaica Coalition for Tobacco Control is very, very anxious for this legislation to be tabled in Parliament. Work began on this, 20 odd years ago. And we're really looking forward to the successful conclusion of that so that we can have a framework within to protect our population from tobacco and nicotine use, which would include vaping.
I think that's going to be so important. You did speak about the World Health Organization's the policies that the World Health Organization would have had in their framework convention and how that has impacted us here in Jamaica. It's going to be very important, though, for persons to be watching this and seeing the new forms of tobacco that we have to deal with as well. How concerned are you about the vaping epidemic, about the youth? And does this tax cover e-cigarettes, electronic cigarettes, and the like that are now the more popular form of nicotine consumption?
So my understanding is at the moment, this particular tax that will be implemented does not cover vaping, and that if anything, such a consideration would be after the legislation is passed. And we're very, very concerned about vaping. I'm just anecdotally, I'm sure all of you, any pharmacy you go into, any shop, all has vapes. They say it's not targeting children, but yet still they're bubblegum flavor, raspberry flavor, strawberry flavor. Children, many parents are upset because their children are vaping, and the evidence.
But is this not a parenting concern? Because adults like bubblegum, adults like raspberries, adults like strawberries. Your children can ask for anything. Is it being targeted to children, or do just children like fun packaging?
The evidence is this is a global problem. It's not Jamaica alone. That children are being targeted because you see. Let us use cigarettes as an example. Most persons started smoking cigarettes before 18 years of age, which is the age of consent. And then after that, they're addicted because of the level of nicotine, and that makes them a customer for life. So you find that a lot of these marketing efforts are geared towards the youth. You're insured of your future market. And nicotine is very addictive, and it's not as simple as saying, well, I'll just try this one and then I'll stop it. No matter with the best intention, once you get hooked, it's very hard to come off. It's extremely concerning.
And we see that we have 1,300 cigarette-related and tobacco-related deaths here in Jamaica each year, meaning that the seriousness is one that has not only health considerations, but also national productivity considerations as well. It's been good to hear the feedback on this, especially as the government has now recently announced what is going on with the taxing of cigarettes, sugary drinks, and alcohol. Deborah Chen, Executive Director of the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Important for us to be able to figure out the sorts of reactions we're hearing from the announcement that has been made by the government, not only from manufacturers, but also concerned citizens in groupings of cooperation like the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. But the opposition has also jumped in, and they have been even more pointed, saying that Melissa is taking the blame for plans the government had before this. We'll speak with opposition spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson, next.
into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yeah.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Welcome to What a Guan. Now, What a Guan is CVM TV's new Vox Pop program, Vibes Yes Vox Pop program. Hey Jamaica, you're watching What a Guan. What a Guan.
Coming to you from Montego Bay. Hello, my people.
What a Guan is back. The People's Program is back in full force on CVM TV.
What a Guan! Cross!
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Continuing to keep our eyes on the new announcements about money, with the total new revenue measures projected to generate $29.439 billion this fiscal year. We have some taxes that are being put in place as well. The digital services tax is expected to yield approximately $300 million this year due to partial implementation. The Environmental Protection Levy rises from 0.5% to 0.8%. But the opposition is looking on, and the Opposition People's National Party says this was the plan even before Hurricane Melissa, and now the hurricane is taking the blame. Joining us tonight is Julian Robinson, opposition spokesperson on finance and the public service. Julian Robinson, good evening.
Good evening to you, Jodian, and good evening to your viewers and your listeners.
Thanks so much for joining us. You and the opposition have suggested that these taxes were contemplated before Hurricane Melissa. What evidence do you have that lets us know as well that some of this contemplation, due to what might be said to be a hole in the budget, supports this claim?
Well, let me just tell you what I said. What I said is that the absence of growth in the economy over the last 10 years, and certainly over the last 2 years, has led the government to depend on one-off transactions to fund the budget. So for 2023-24, the government sold off 12 years of future revenues from the Norman Manley International Airport, and they got a lump sum of $75 billion, which was able to fund significant parts of the budget for 2023-2024. For 2024-25, which is the last fiscal year, we did the same with the Donald Sanster Airport, where we sold off 10 years future revenues to get $61 billion. And the analogy I would use to simplify it is, if you work with a company, you would go to your boss and say, can I get an advance on my salary for the next 12 months, and then you would spend that money up front, but you recognize that you won't be getting the revenue, your income for the next 12 months. In essence, that's what we did in the last 2 years. Now, without a hurricane, the government would have been challenged to fund this budget. They would have had to either identify another asset that they would have to securitize, which effectively means selling off future revenues to get an upfront sum to deal with current consumption or deal with their own expenditures. And really, this is a reflection of the fact that we have seen little to no growth in the economy for about 10 years.
All right, but we also haven't had 10 years with taxes. So are you then alleging that this particular budget is one with a structural hole in there that would have needed us to get taxes either way?
No, I'm not saying definitively that taxes would have been imposed without the hurricane. What I'm saying is that the government would have struggled to finance the budget unless they identified another securitization, because revenues have simply not been growing at the pace to meet the expenditures. And we saw it in 2023-24, we saw it in 2024-25. And there's been nothing dramatic in terms of our revenue growth because the economy has not grown. So it's not that I'm saying we would have had taxes without the hurricane, but I'm saying is we were already on a path where our revenues could not meet the expenditures of the government. And that is why we had those two one-off transactions to ensure that we could meet the budget.
Those are two major airports then that had 12 and 10-year future earnings effectively sold off. We don't have any more major airports of that size to play with, but we did have Hurricane Melissa in October of last year, with reconstruction estimated at about 1 trillion Jamaican dollars. How would you and the PNP fund it?
So first of all, what I would say is that if you look at the tax package, it's $29 billion. And coming out of a hurricane, when we look at the majority of the imposition of these taxes, the burden is going to fall on the most vulnerable. If you look at the one on sugary drinks, the persons who consume sugary drinks the most are the most vulnerable, and particularly young people. And they do so because they are the cheapest cost. Now, I fully acknowledge and appreciate the negative effect should for diabetes and all the other communicable diseases. But this tax is not going to change behavior because the alternatives are not cheaper. If you want to change behavior, I think there are different things that you'd have to do. You'd have to incentives for natural juices to be priced at a way that they are in fact alternatives. And one of the things I suggested in Parliament yesterday is that some of the that are derived, the $10 billion, are used to support farmers who can produce natural juices, coconut water, things which are alternatives.
So this is one big thing, a $10.1 billion there that the government would have identified coming off taxes for sugary drinks. Would you repeal the sweetened beverage tax then, given the concerns that you raised and the implications for those most vulnerable?
In my view, I think a better way trying to deal with behavior change. Sugar content is not one number. There are some drinks that have significantly more sugar than others. So if you're trying to discourage the consumption of high sugar content drinks, then differentiating where if you want to impose taxes on those that have high sugar content versus those that may have lower.
So is this a tiered system that you're suggesting, given that around 10 years ago some manufacturers had decreased the amount of sugar in their drinks?
Right, so that you then put an incentive for manufacturers to decrease the amount of sugar that they put if in fact your objective is a health concern. My view is when you look at the intake of 10 billion, it means that the government doesn't believe there's going to be any significant fall off in demand. Because if there was significant fall, you wouldn't anticipate raising $10 billion. So by their own calculations, I don't think they anticipate any fall off in demand. So from my perspective, I think more thought needs to be given to change behavior. You could legislate the sugary content in soda, whether that be done by in drinks by the Bureau of Standard or some other standards agency, so that you reduce the content. But when you just impose a tax for the people who have no option, now option, and it is from a health perspective, but it's very hard to convince young kids to substitute sweetened drinks for water.
This is going to be important because that change in behavior is something that has been lauded by advocates, saying that this imposition of a tax would contribute to change behavior. But you are opposition spokesperson on finance. You said that there would have been a difficulty with the government funding the 2026 to 2027 estimates of expenditure or budget. help us then. You would not have this sugary drink tax because you think, and you've explained to us the difficulties there and the no changing of behavior. How would you and the PNP have funded it? Would you have borrowed it instead? And given what the minister had said about debt sustainability and maintaining our credit ratings at the three big agencies, Moody's, S&P and Fitch, is that something that the PNP would have considered?
So we are looking at the options, right? It's 29 billion. If you look at the overall number that is going to be borrowed by the government for this budget, it's somewhere in the region about. So you're talking about
we just missed a while ago. 29 billion is what the government is raising, and how much was it the government is borrowing? You just chipped
about
out.
300, right?
Significant, 10 times as much.
This is about 10%. Now, within the context, for example, of you're just coming out of a hurricane, these are exceptional circumstances. Many Jamaicans in Western Jamaica, they have lost jobs. Their businesses are shuttered. They don't have a roof over their head. The question is this the appropriate time to impose taxes, particularly taxes the most, right? So something that you could look at. I mean, the government has said, as an example, they're moving ahead to raise the tax threshold to, they are giving up about 4 close. Could you go to persons and say, in the interest of trying to protect the most vulnerable, we're going to postpone that? Maybe for a year, maybe for 2.
That announcement had been made last year. People were looking forward to it. But speaking to economist Janelle McEwen yesterday, he said these new taxes would scrape that money right back.
Right. No, but I'm saying to you, if instead of adding these taxes and you want to balance your budget, you have to look at, I'm saying the bulk of these taxes, the sugary drinks, also the environmental levy. The environmental levy, you may see it as affecting people who are producers and importers, but all they're going to do is pass these costs on to the end user, which is the customer. So again, the people who are going to be affected the most are the most vulnerable. Why? Because they consume most of their. People who have more income, middle, higher income persons, consume less of their income. So when you look at the majority, the bulk of these new taxes, the burden falls most on the most vulnerable.
There's another tax.
Out of a hurricane, that in our view is going to lead to less economic activity and actually more contraction coming out of a hurricane.
And that's certainly something to watch as well. There's another tax, though, that has been discussed. That's a digital services tax. Is that a hit to progress?
I mean, we know, for example, it seems to deal with things like Spotify, Netflix, if you deal with cloud services, but you don't know how far it extends. Does it extend, for example, most of us have security features, things that we buy to secure, extend to that. I heard one analyst talk about Airbnb and other types of applications. It really, at this point, is not very clear how far, how wide. As a country, we are encouraging persons to use technology to produce solutions, build software that you can then export. Are all of those inputs going to be taxed? We don't know. So I think there's a need for clarity as to what is included in the digital tax, what is not included. And then there's also going to be need for clarity as to how you collect it. Is it that the government is going to go to, let's just use as an example, if you're Facebook and say, if I'm buying ads as an example to boost my page or whatever, then Facebook should collect the tax on behalf of the government and then remit it to the government. Otherwise, I mean, the government would have to be chasing and following up every individual, which is not practical.
And I think there's a swirling list of then legal and international law issues that would arise, including platform responsibility, all sorts of things, if you're putting the digital taxes in place. But we're certainly looking not only to get some of the details around what it is that you've asked for, Julian Robinson, but also to see what the government comes back with as they are now continuing.
But I think in this case, it's very important in short order, and by short order, in days, for them to provide clarity, because everybody's asking, particularly on this tax, what exactly is included, what is not.
And it's going to be
people need
important
some
for
certainty
persons,
to plan.
as you said, to get clarity and certainty around that so that we all know what we would be paying and how it would be affecting us all. Julian Robinson, opposition spokesman on finance and the public service, thanks so much for joining us and talking to us today inside Lead Story. All right, we're going to take a break and come back to you. Awarded a red shirt for you. We have a little Valentine's Day discussion. Why is that? Because with all the taxes that you just heard about, you can't go outside. Hello, stay in or at least go outside and take advantage of free and cheap ways to celebrate Valentine's Day. That's our gift to you. Stay with us next inside Lead Story.
Deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yeah.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Every dream conquered is another dream game. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction. 'Cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music is a play, and the people them I say we are my show tonight. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't fit the dark, shine your lights
I just heard a statement a moment ago. The youths are under pressure. Well, as we close tonight on the eve of Valentine's Day, not all value is monetary. While taxes rise on beverages, cigarettes, and digital subscriptions, there is one meaningful activity that costs nothing. This weekend, February 13 to 16, is the Great Backyard Bird Count. It's a global citizen science project where anyone can count birds for at least 15 minutes and upload the data via the Merlin Bird ID or eBird apps. This is going to make your Valentine's Day affordable because it's a zero cost to date. In a high inflation environment following Hurricane Melissa, a nature walk is romantic. You hold on to that boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife hand. And it's a budget-friendly alternative to expensive dinners. Jamaica has 28 endemic bird species found nowhere else. And following Hurricane Melissa's destruction of forests, this year's count is critical to see how local populations, like the doctor bird, are recovering. So, to talk to us about it, joining us in studio are Justin Saunders, President of BirdLife Jamaica, and Michelle Roberts, Vice President of BirdLife Jamaica. Good evening to you both. Good
hey,
evening.
Judy, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining us inside our free and cheap things to do for Valentine's Day.
Affordable, we like to say.
Affordable, there you go. Affordable options of Valentine's Day. Put in context, though, what it is that we're doing, because how did Hurricane Melissa impact bird habitats across the island that would now have have people need to go outside and look and check and count, romantically or not, for the next few days?
So the impact really can't be overstated. We always hear that it was an unprecedented storm, and that's the same effect that it's had on the forest and on the birds itself. A lot of persons may actually be looking at it now and saying, I see the trees coming back, I see the leaves coming back, so the birds should be okay. But, just imagine like you get a little tarpaulin over your house. You're not quite okay at that point in time. So the count is important to let us know what's the new standard in Jamaica. After these birds have been affected, after their homes have been destroyed, what's our new baseline and how do we track going forward after this?
Michelle, I come to you because it's Valentine's weekend as well, and affordable is what your president wants us to do. So there's an affordable option for persons who are looking to enjoy themselves. How can a couple in Kingston or Montego Bay or Negril or anywhere in Jamaica participate from a balcony, a veranda, or just going out in the yard and being part of this massive bird watch over the weekend?
Okay, so the bird count is essentially just going out into nature and observing the birds that are all around. So all you need is your eyes. Or if you have a pair of binoculars, which is affordable.
But for right now, you're saying I just need the eyeballs that I have
yes,
for free.
For free.
And extra things I could have but don't need are binoculars.
Yes.
Okay.
So just go outside, observe the birds, as you said, for 15 minutes or more, and make a list of them.
You say it like it's easy, Justin. I want to let you know I couldn't tell one bird from the next, and I don't even know if I see the same bird twice. How would somebody be invested in this to be able to even figure out if they're doing it correctly?
Well, the first thing I recommend is find a partner.
Find a partner. What a thing to ask for on Valentine's weekend.
Eyes are better than two.
If you don't have a partner on Valentine's weekend, but you could speak to that special someone and say, I have somewhere to carry, you carry them outside. That might be it.
It works well, trust me.
So you carry them outside and do what now?
And so right before you carry them outside, I'm going to ask you to download 2 things, also free. So 2 apps. There's a Merlin app, which will help you to identify a bird just based on the colors alone that you see on it. And then you can also download the eBird app. So very simple, Merlin and eBird. One helps you to identify the bird, and the other one helps you to keep track. So the names are there, you can put in the numbers, you can say what the bird is doing, you can say how many birds. Pretty easy.
That contribution then, getting the app to figure out what you're going to be looking at and then keeping track, Michelle, is going to be very important for people across the island. What species might they be able to see this weekend as they go outside? What should they excitedly look outside for and say, I saw a tada?
Well, my favorite bird is a Jamaican toady. It's also called the Rasta bird. Okay. So, yeah.
What a nice bird name. What a good bird.
Yes. So yeah, lots of very important and beautiful species. 33 endemics actually.
There you go. So 33 endemic species, ones that are in Jamaica.
In Jamaica only.
So we get special birds that are just for us. But why is this year's count, Justin, so serious? Especially more important, and the most important in a decade for local conservation, because after Hurricane Melissa, it seems we're going to need to check again how these tarpaulin covered birds, because you gave us that example earlier, just like the people, especially in the western end of the island, who are making it but not quite back to normal, how they are coping. What would this bird count do this weekend?
So I'm glad that you mentioned the word decade, because like 10 years and conservation goes hand in hand really well in terms of the amount of time you need to like have a study and see the effects of something. So I like to explain to persons that birds are a good indicator species. So the presence or absence of birds in a community can really give you a good idea as to the health of that organization, of the ecosystem rather, and even for the safety of persons being around. There is concern about some junkers not being seen down west to help clear up some of the dead bodies. You know, it sounds comical, but it's a valid concern.
A conversation at the very beginning of Hurricane Melissa devastation, when there were bodies saying that carrion birds or junkers in Jamaica that would have been removing dead bodies, eating them, weren't visible. So you're saying this bird conversation. So some people thought it was a stupid conversation. You're saying no.
Very important.
Yeah, it's a good relation. Your birds let you know if the environment is clean and it's healthy. And that's the same environment we want to have Valentine's Day, and the same environment we want to have Labor Day and all the days. So, you know, the lovebirds really love a clean environment too.
Yeah.
Michelle, as we close out this conversation, people who want to get involved in your organization and say, you know what, I did like bird watching, my mother likes it, somebody says this could be something I get into. Talk to them about how they get involved.
Okay, so you can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at BirdLife Jamaica. and also send us an email at birdlifejamaica@gmail.com.
All
We'll
right.
provide you with all the information.
Quickly before we go with both of you, it's Valentine's weekend. What are some other things that you have on your affordable list of things that people can do, Justin? 2 from you.
I love going on hikes. So
Hikes
I
are
will go
good,
on a hike.
nice and affordable.
And then spending quality time.
See, that is very, very nice. Michelle, you can't use those 2. Pick 2 more.
Beach, river.
The beach,
Yeah,
river, water sources,
definitely.
that's good.
And cooking with your loved ones.
Oh, cooking with your loved one. I do hope one of you can cook. That's the way this would work
Definitely.
the best.
I mean,
There you go.
can't almost everything on TV.
But, see, Justin says I have special things that you could do, but Michelle says she won't give us all of them as they both speaks to us about bird life, Jamaica. That's a Jamaican Tony. Oh, they found it for us. So we can say, never have I seen this bird, and I promise you, I wouldn't be looking outside to see any like arrowhead warbler. Look at us learning about important things. Well, you can go outside and see the birds this weekend, being part of the, or you can, my director is saying to me, or you can see it on YouTube. Not this weekend. You're going outside and you can see it. Justin Saunders and Michelle Roberts of BirdLife Jamaica, thank you for reminding us that some of the most important things in life cost nothing. See your 2 eyes, you go outside for free and you go and look. That's going to be part of the potential plan you could have for this weekend. Now, inhale, exhale. Apart from the joy of Valentine's Day, Jamaica's also ended now a 10-year no new tax streak. The justification is the reconstruction. The framing is health. You heard it. Sugary drinks, tobacco. The politics, though, are predictable. And you heard the opposition spokesman talk about some of the back and forth issues. But policy must be judged by outcomes. If sweetened beverage consumption falls, if childhood obesity stabilizes, if smoking rates decline, these measures will stand on public health grounds. If they don't actually move anywhere, they will instead be remembered as fiscal expedients in a difficult year. On the eve of Valentine's Day, perhaps the reminder is this: love is not measured in spending, but governance is measured in outcomes. This is the story. I'm Jody Ann Quarry, and on behalf of the entire CVM production team, thank you for watching Lead Story. Have a fantastic evening, a great Valentine's Day, and I hope you stay safe. Mwah! Up next, CVM News.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live.